Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Monday. That means we got a bit of a mosh coming up. A couple things to talk about. First thing I wanted to cover is I got up this morning, took a shower, and then I reached over for my favorite cologne, and I thought to myself, you know, this is something that a lot of people probably don't use or haven't heard about. And it goes back to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, we used to go to the barber shop, and traditionally, old-fashioned barbers, after they cut your hair, they would take some gook, we used to call it, came in a special bottle, and they would put it into their hands, rub their hands together, and slap you on the back of your neck, you know? Not quite like the slaps they're doing today on YouTube, but they would smack the back of your neck with it, and it was refreshing, but it had a funny odor. And it was Lilac Vegetal by Pinaud, or Pinaud. It all depends on how you pronounce it, but this is it. Can you see this here? This is it, and I got to tell you something. This stuff is fantastic. I just got another bottle today, got on Amazon in the mail, but I still have some left in my own bottle. I use it all the time. Every time I use it, it reminds me of my dad, because my dad always had some, and it was a glass bottle when my dad used to buy it. It was and he used to use it, and it had an unusual smell. You know, not what you would call, colognes were big in the 80s. In the 80s, we were using a lot of different colognes, Obsession and so many different, cologne, expensive colognes, not like Brute and Old Spice, which, we use when you get older. When we were younger, in your 20s, you wanted to smell good, and you would spend the extra money on the cologne or whatever, and everybody was smelling like, everybody had their own odor. Well, this Lilac Vegetal, I have to tell you, has a strange odor, and it's kind of an odor that isn't pleasing to most, women. I don't know why it became, but I love it. I love it because it reminds me of old-fashioned barbershop. So my dad used to use it when he was, in his 40s, 50s. We used to put it in, and he goes, "You want to try it?" And then all of a sudden, at one time, I must have been in my mid-20s. I said, "Yeah, I'll try some of that." And I put it on, and my mother and my sister were like, "Oh, what is that? Ew, that smell." And I loved it. So ever since then, I've been a fan. So if you've ever smelt it before, leave a comment if you ever know what I'm talking about. I sent a bottle of this to my friend Tom over at Ox Tools, and he was happy as a clam because he too remembers. This is old-timey smell. Okay, let's see what we got going on today down the shop. Okay, for today's first project, I thought we would do a hammer. We haven't done a hammer in a while, and I got this nice, inexpensive Estwing at the flea market and last week, and you could see what we paid here. It was a real bargain, and you could see the rust, that we've dealt with before. The thing with this is the handle, okay? And they dip this in like a lacquer, and it gives you, but I don't know. I'm torn on how I want to do this handle, so we're gonna have to think about that. But first, let's go through a quick wire brushing. See what we could do with the rust. These are peened down. This is a steel cap that goes on the bottom. These are peened down, holds everything nice and tight. Everything is nice and tight. Let's get to the wire brush. Here we are at our post-wire brush evaluation. It's already looking much better. You can see here, but we do have that staining. Remember that that staining that we always deal with whenever you deal with carbon steel. Good news is the lettering looks really good here. You can see here. And over here, you can see a couple nicks, but look at that. Some couple misses here when they were striking. So we got to address that. The back plate came out nice, as we were hoping. You can see here. It always comes out nice, so we'll finish that. But we got to strip the leather off this over here off. We'll do that with the belt sander. And also, you can see in here. See that? That little area right in there? We're going to do something with that. That annoys me in there. And one last thing. They always painted this as painted gray from the factory. The back of their claws here is painted gray. Just so you know that. So, let's see what we can do now. Okay, I'm about 2 hours into the project, and I have to tell you something. This hammer, you know, they look easy, but hammers are not easy, you know? And you can see here what we're doing with the handle. I got all the old finish off here, smoothed it out. You know, you have to only address it to the belt in one direction. You can't go back and forth. It has to be like this. You kind of touch the belt and rock it. And we're getting the plastics nice on here. And now over here, you can see I still got some tie-ins here, like this here. That's tough to get. All this area in here and here, it's hard to get around the top here. So, got the top looking nice. I'm going to come back later on. I got to rest up because you get sloppy when you get tired. Sometimes you're sloppy when you're wide awake too, but you get sloppy. So it's time to rest, go upstairs, relax for a little while, think about how I want to address this. The fiber wheel is good to get in these small areas, but I got to get some of these scratches out, but it's looking better. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I get asked this question. You know, people buy a buffing disc like this, or they buy one of these fiber discs, the Joe Shop Special, or you buy any kind of disc that you want to mount onto your motor, whatever it is, and the shaft. It seems like when this goes on, you can see is a little bit of play. So what happens is if you try and just tighten this up there, you're going to get wobble because there's play, and you're going to get, that's just the way it is. So let me show you how, what normally you would do is you would take a bushing. You can make a bushing, but there's no sense in trying to, this is a bushing here. See this one here? Now this is a standard bushing, and they have this here like this. Now you can see if I want to put this 1-inch wheel on here, and you have a back washer like this, one like this, one like this, and you could see it don't give us much to bite on. You could see we only have I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch of threads. That's not much at all. We really would like at least as much as this nut. So what you would do in a perfect world is you would take this bushing off and you would cut this down to take 1/4 of an inch off there, replace it on there. But if you don't have a lathe, you can't do this with a regular hacksaw. It's got to be true. But you could do that. You can make another one just for this wheel. And then when you put this on here, you'll have more threads. We're going to make it work today because we're not going to keep this on here all the time. But I want to show you how to make up for the extra space that you have. And the way I found the best way to do it is to take a regular piece of paper. You don't want you don't want it to be bigger than the wheel because then it'll give you problems. But take it like this, wrap it around the shaft here, just paper like this, wrap it around, and that will create a bushing that'll take up the space, and it also has a lot of density because it's paper. See, you can't really squeeze that together. Now you put a small piece of tape there, and that'll take up a lot of the space. Here you see we put the small piece of tape on here, and that's all it is. It's just building up a little bit of size. It's not rocket science. Take this in here. Now you still might get a little wobble when you put it in because this isn't always true on the outside, but that'll just stop it from moving from side. You can see that's a nice fit. If it was still loose, you could do another wrap or two with the paper, but that's all you have to do. Now we'll put the washer on like this, and then we'll put, now these fiber discs have a tendency to squish, you know, they have a tendency to compress. That's okay, but don't go nuts with tightening. If it starts to slip, you're going to have to retighten it, but don't go crazy tightening it. You hold the other side of the wheel, you give it some tightening up like this, and that should be plenty fine. Okay, now you can see that we did it. It's over here. You have to go by the outside of the wheel. Don't go by this label. This label is off center, and you can see it looks like it's wobbling, but the outside of the wheel is pretty true. We turn it on, and look at that. Looks very nice, so let's give it a shot. Now, here's another tip. You know, a lot of times you have areas like here that we want to get into this area here, you know, and a lot of times it's a little difficult, especially when you have a new wheel or whatever that you're dealing with. And what you want to do is, the first thing, don't be afraid to address the wheel when the motor is off, just to see the angle. Like, for example, I wanted to see if I could get into this area here. So with the motor off, and let me give you a better look here. With the motor off, I will hold the hammer like this and say, okay, I can see that? I can get it in like this and just get a nice touch here without touching the claw, the back of the claw, or another part of the hammer. Same thing with this side. Sometimes you have to adjust the angle. You don't want to do this when it's running, because if you make a mistake and you touch the wrong part of the hammer, you're going to put a divot in there. So it's always good to, when the motor's off, just figure out what your angles are going to be. Like this one here will be nice to get in there, and then you could just follow that angle just like that and get it nice and smooth. That's the way I do it. Okay, you can see we rotated the motor 90 degrees because I'm going to be using the left side of the motor now, and we're going to use this wheel. It's a semi, it's not a stiff wheel, but it's semi-stiff and it's clean. That's the main thing. And the reason I want a clean wheel is because I'm going to be doing this handle now. And now, I sanded this handle down through all the grits. You can see it has a nice sheen on it now. And the reason I did that is because what they usually do is when they take this from the factory and they dip the whole hammer, because this is usually covered too, but the bottom they dip in a like clear lacquer. And the problem with that is anybody knows that had one of these hammers, especially if you use it, it chips. It always chips. It looks unsettly. So what we're going to do is we're going to polish. I'm going to take this butcher's wax here, this amber paste wax. Can you smell that? Oh, God, that smells so good. So we're going to take, oh, man, that smells good. So we're going to take this paste wax, put a little on my neck for a cologne, and then we're going to put some on the handle, a good amount on the handle, and then kind of burnish it in. And we're going to burnish it in, and hopefully that'll give us a handle that is comfortable, because it's already super comfortable, but I want something to protect it, and then we'll polish the rest out, and that should be it. Okay, another question I get, when do you dress your buffing wheels? Okay, and what I mean by dress, you'll see what I mean. You see over here that sheen, that's a buildup. First of all, because I used aluminum when I did the pommel of the knife. So this is no good, what you see here. So this sheen is built up like aluminum particles and also built up, caked up buffing compound. So what you want to do is we're going to turn the machine on and take an old saw and use the back couple teeth of the saw here, touch it against it, and I'll show you what it looks like when you're done. Okay, so there we have, you see, we took off the sheen, we exposed some new fibers. You know, if you still have more, you could do it again. But you see, that's what you want to do. You want to get rid of that sheen. This way, the new fibers will take in the new compound when you're working on your new project. Okay, you know my favorite part. Remember what this hammer looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Yeah, this one is... This one was a little more difficult than it looked, because you know these lines, trying to keep those lines and everything, but I think we did a nice job on it. You know, it looks like the factory, you know, like a better than factory finish, you know, and, you know, pretty shiny, not mirror-like, but really nice, huh? And these are beautiful hammers. Estwing makes perfect, look at the tops, perfect hammers, but these handles are always tricky. And now this is just with waxing, and after we did that, the butcher's wax, we put a coat of carnauba wax on there, just to, and it's just, you know, so much better than the lacquer that comes on there, because that won't chip or flake off or anything, and I think it looks very nice, right? And, you know, got the white, this is plastic. These are plastic inserts here. So you got to be careful with them, but we got them all white again. They tend to be yellow from the, you know, from the varnish or polyethylene, whatever they put on there. But what do you think of that? That's a nice hammer, huh? Did the face over. And, you know, you always got to get this angle on correctly. But, yeah, it's Estwing always made nice hammers. I like the blue handles. You know, the blue handles, those rubberized handles, they are indestructible good, but this is a classic hammer. This is a beautiful hammer, and that's why we took the extra time to do it nice. $5 hammer in the can. I like it. Okay, in closing, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.